You know, the funniest thing about most of us is that we keep saying that we want a certain type of life, these certain things or whatever, but we fight to keep our limitations alive. What do I mean? You know, when you listen to people talk about law of attraction, manifestation, all of these things, one of the key things you'll hear them say is like, speak most of goodness, speak most of better things, positive things, blah, blah, blah. And when the very real duality exists in the world, there is no such thing as dark without light. There's no such thing as good without bad. You know, all of those things coexist, right? There is a very real duality and contrast in the world, and we are witness to it. So when we stand on the outside and we're looking at these teachings, there is this idea of like, how can I do that? It feels wrong. It feels unfair. It feels unjust to not speak about these very real limitations, this very real pain, this very real trauma, very real injustice, all of these things. Here's the thing though. Here's the thing. Whatever you focus on grows. Whatever you focus on grows, which means that while most of us say that we want XYZ, when we are focused on the lack of it in the name of being realistic, in the name of not being delusional, in the name of not being cuckoo in the head, we are affirming more and more that this is what my reality is. 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 And the very real other side of it, the flip side, does not exist. And most of us, we fight for our limitations. We fight to keep them alive because we are so used to them. We are so used to them. We're so familiar with them that we fight for them. And what that means is that we think that if we are not thinking negatively, if we are not focusing on what's wrong, what we can't control, how things are unjust, how there's wrong, blah, 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 we are almost doing a disservice to our pain. And here's where we get it wrong, right? We tend to believe that, like to focus positively and have high vibe emotions and all that means that you disregard your pain. No, it means you allow your pain to pass through without being married to it. Most people will talk most about what? Oh, the government is so messed up. Inflation. The inflation is crazy. The house market, the job market is bad. There's lack, there's scarcity, there's fear, there's doubt. It is this collective chain that we're, like anchored into. A collective fear that we have bought into, that there is not enough. And you hear everyday conversations. What do people talk about? Politics. They talk about how, things are wrong. They talk about how bad the circumstances are. That's what they bond on. They bond on their limitations. So this new idea comes that says, hey, you want money, you want to be abundant, talk about abundance. How can I talk about abundance when I live in a world where things are da-da-da-da? I don't see a change like that, and the government is like this, and my dad raised me like this. And now you're fighting and fighting to keep your limitations alive, all while this opposite, the polarity of it, the flip side of it is available to you. So here's why we have a hard time manifesting, or we have a hard time experiencing anything other than what we have sworn to be the law of our life, is because we are afraid of focusing on the good, because we are afraid that if I do that, I'm doing my pain a disservice. I'm saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying it's not relevant. I'm saying it's not real. I'm being delusional. I'm being crazy, blah, blah, blah. But the thing about focusing more on being in a higher vibration does not mean that you're negating the very real existence of pain, because that pain is real. But how come the pain is so real, but the belief in the goodness is so weak? It's so elusive. If the pain can exist at this intensity, like 100, so can the goodness. They coexist. It is not an unbalanced scale. It's a matter of point of view. It's a matter of, are you looking at the pain, the limitation, the scarcity, or can you focus in on this? And why don't you, and I'm gonna make this one short and sweet. I want you to take this for a test drive. For the next 3 days, not more than 3 days, just 3 days, tell your limitations, your fears, your doubts. You know what? I'm gonna park you for 3 days. And then go out in the world, make a list of, let's say, 3, 4, whatever things you want to experience, right? Maybe you want to meet kinder people. Maybe you want to bring in more money, whatever you want, right? Focus on it as if it's already there. Literally reject anything that is not in congruence with it. What does that mean? When you see limitation, don't pay attention to it. Don't speak of it. Don't feel of it. Literally lock in your awareness and bring it over here. Bring it over here. Bring it over here. Bring it over here. Focus on looking at the world as you want it to be, and quit fighting to keep your limitations alive, even if that means losing out on a few connections. Because would you rather be surrounded by people you can complain to about how hard life is, or have a few people, maybe just even be in isolation in solitude for a bit, but have life be easy for you? Because life will be whatever you expect it to be. If you think you don't get opportunities, guess what, babe? You're not gonna get them. If you believe and you feel like it's easy for me, it gets to be easy for me, I get to be so lucky, I get to live a life of so many, like an overflowing abundance, I get to live a life where I'm inspired every day, I get to live a life like this, what's gonna happen? You're gonna get to live a life like that. But we are taught to be with the crowd. We are taught to go where everyone is going. We are social creatures. We seek belonging, even if that means giving up our freedom for it. We think that if I conform to the group, and if I just talk like everyone else, and if I just, listen to everyone else, I'm going to be accepted and validated, and I'm not going to be seen as weird. But babe, if the cost of that is your own liberation, if the price to pay is the fullness of your life, is it worth it? Is it worth hanging around people where all you do is complain and you perpetuate that reality for yourself through the way you feel and talk about it? Wouldn't you rather test out this idea? Because I know it's as real as what? Gravity. It's as real as that. And in order for your mind to believe it, your mind to begin to present you a newer reality, in order for that to happen, what do you need to do? You need to disconnect from the familiar, disconnect from people who speak of limitations, disconnect from people who will give you every reason to believe that the world is unfair. And I am not, by God, saying that the world, is fair or unfair. It's never one thing. I'm saying both polarities exist. I'm saying it is unfair and it is also very fair. Things are hard and they're also very easy. Both options exist. And just because this group of people has bought into the struggle of things and the pain and this and that, and they've affirmed it and they live it and they perpetuate it, doesn't mean you have to live by the same rules as them. Because the law isn't that everyone lives lives by the same rules in the very core sense. Like, on a bigger scale, yes, the law is that what you affirm, you experience, what you assume, you experience, but what you assume, not what I assume, not what, the other person assumes, what you. So that means they can live that, they can perpetuate that, they can experience that, and they will. Life will give you evidence of what you swore, what you take an oath on. You're like, life is like this. That is what life will show you. Life will be like, okay, you believe I'm hard? I'm gonna be harder for you. Okay, you believe that opportunities don't come to you? Cool. Say less. The moment you go like, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't have to buy into this narrative, this collective narrative. What would happen if I could believe that things are easy for me? They have sworn into those things, so they will continue to experience that. They will continue to experience injustice. A person who has sworn that every person they meet is a cheater will keep meeting cheaters, but that does not mean that the option for you to experience a life where you keep meeting great freaking people who have your best interests in their heart for you, that does not mean that option doesn't exist for you. In fact, it even exists for them. But your life isn't about them. Like, bring in, lock in, girl, guy, man, whatever, like, ditch that collective narrative and ask yourself, what do I want to experience? Because life will make me experience what I want to experience. Doesn't mean other things don't exist. It's that those things, those experiences are relevant to what those people are choosing to perpetuate. So before you can go ahead and broadcast this out to other people, hey, perpetuate better. Ask yourself, what am I perpetuating? What am I resisting? What do I want? And how am I living the opposite, speaking the opposite, believing, feeling the opposite of that? Go back to the source. Go back to what you desire. Go back and believe it gets to be easy for you. Believe in possibilities. And stop fighting for your limitation. Because this, believing in this, speaking of this, doesn't mean that this doesn't exist. Like, that is so silly to say. Because we all know that both polarities exist. And if I'm speaking of this one, doesn't mean this will not be a very real thing, a very real pain, a very real challenge for so many people. But I'm saying you get to choose which polarity you live in, which end of the polarity, by your way of being. That's it for today. And I'll see you in the next video. Love you.